the last year, particularly with the COVID situation, has stood education as we generally think of it, and certainly in the public education, on its head.
Yeah.
I mean, there are states where literally schools have been completely shut down or largely shut down. There are a handful of them that have continued to operate at a full in classroom capacity. Many shifted over to basically a homeschool model by extension, but everybody knows how that goes. You can't just put a kid in front of a computer at home and expect them to learn. It just does not happen. I mean, there are just too many other distractions. We are in interesting times as a society where, in a sense, all of our knowns or established infrastructures in education have been challenged and have had to be innovative and creative. Some have done very well, others have failed miserably. And I think, but all of this in a way kind of has created an environment where parents, I think particularly parents, have realized there are better ways to do things. Status quo isn't necessarily good. So let's talk a little bit about where can we go from here. Let's talk first of all about parents. So whatever the parents' role is, wherever they have their child, whether they're homeschooling them, they have them in a private school, they have them in a public charter or a regular public school, wherever. Talk to parents just a little bit. The parent is and has to be the primary stakeholder. Okay. I mean, they have the most to gain and lose. It's their child, and they should be and always must be the primary stakeholder. Yeah. So as primary stakeholders, what encouragement can we give them today? What would you say to them to encourage them to be more proactive, or to, some things that they can do to help their child during this time, and even maybe rethink education a little bit?
I think you're absolutely right. I think not only is the parent the greatest stakeholder, and there are many in the life of a student, the greatest, but that also inherent with that means they must be that child's student's greatest advocate.
Yes.
And I listen, as a working dad, and our house was the same way. We had 4 kids. Mom was working, dad was working, sometimes 2, 3 jobs at the same time. We went through that. Those early days. And it's very difficult to be your child's greatest advocate when you are crazy busy. But I think it takes intentionality. I think, and especially in today's world, parents should absolutely be encouraged that they might not be able to make it to the PTA meeting. They might not be able to be at every single school open house. There are times that they have to work, and I don't think they should be punished for that and feel like they're out of the loop in their child's life, especially the academic life. So use technology, zap an email to your teacher. Understand that the teachers, what they're doing and what they're teaching, that's not something they're creating in their garage. The teachers are there because they have a passion and a desire. And again, as an educator, as a parent, as a school board member, as a husband of a wife involved, I can tell you far majority, 90% more of the teachers that are involved in your child's life are there because they mean well. They want to do well. They want to help your student achieve and be successful, not just academically, but in life. And they're just overwhelmed that they have so many obstacles, these teachers. And I think parents just need to sort of get in the life. I would encourage them to substitute teach a few times, or read some blogs, or talk to your teacher about, what they're facing, the challenges that teachers have with high turnover. Administrators are turning over at a fast pace. Central office, many times the district shifts. The last superintendent that we had when I was on the school board, his model was, I want to keep an administrator at one school just for a couple of years and then move them to another because they're a good leader. They need, what that does is disrupt there's no consistency in that leadership. So the next principal that goes in there has a completely different leadership style. And it takes at least 2 years just to get used to that, and then they're gone. So that's what teachers are going through. They don't have the resources that they need. They're underfunded. They're always, when compared to every other industry, underpaid. And they're working long hours. It is not 9 to 3, and then they get summers off. And because of the pay, generally teachers have to work second jobs, work during the summer. My yard is mowed by a teacher every weekend, by a full-time teacher. They have a large student to teacher ratio that's increasing. It's not uncommon for a teacher to have 25 students. So I would encourage parents to just sort of be empathetic to that teacher in the classroom, to try to bridge that gap, reach out, show some support, make some donations of pens or pencils if you can afford it, send an email of encouragement every once in a while. And I think that'll bridge that gap. I would love to see more parents get involved in organizations, whether it's a parent-teacher organization or a booster club for a band or whatever. I would love to see a lot more parents be active at school board meetings. School board meetings, and I'm telling you from experience, are basically just 5 or 10 people meeting in a room where 5 to 9 school board members are discussing things. Anemic. And most of the time, the audience of the school board meetings are educators that have to be there. The superintendent, the assistant superintendent, the financial person, teachers that are being awarded that night, recognized, whatever. The only time you ever see parents fill a school board room is when there's a major controversy. We need to have consistency with our parents, those stakeholders, being at those, holding them accountable, letting them know we are here, we're involved, we're concerned, we're listening, because that's where the policy is being changed and created. Run for office. If you have an elected school board, run for that school board. And if you have an appointed school board, apply for that school board. It's not as busy of a job as some people think it is, or overwhelming, but the influence that you can make cannot be understated.